Imagine a place on Earth that grows bigger every year, swallowing everything around it. A place that even the bravest local people avoid in fear. They did not call it the gates of hell for nothing. Something ancient and dangerous really escapes from there. But here is what truly terrifies. These gates to the underworld were not opened by higher powers or natural disasters. They were opened by humanity. Without realizing it, we started a process that today threatens our entire civilization. Imagine a hole in the ground, the size of the center of a small city, as deep as a skyscraper, longer than Central Park in New York, and it grows every day, devouring new sections of land. This is happening right now in Siberia, near the village of Batagai. Local people, Yakuts and Evenks, seeing what was happening to their land, named this place the Gates of Hell. They are afraid even to go near it, believing that evil spirits come out from there. It all began in the 1960s. Soviet workers were ordered to look for minerals. First, they cut down the forest, a normal operation. But when the last tree fell, something went wrong. Without roots, the soil lost its strength. Without shade, the sun began to heat the ground much more strongly. And the permafrost, the ice that had been lying here for thousands of years, began to melt. At first, a small ravine appeared, but it grew and grew, slowly turning into a huge abyss. People had started a process that now can't be stopped. They opened a door that should have stayed closed forever. Today, the crater stretches wider than 10 football fields and longer than 25 fields laid end to end. Its walls are as tall as a 20-story building. Every year, it swallows land the size of several city blocks. In 3 decades, it has devoured more material than several pyramids of Cheops, and it has no intention of stopping. But this is not just a hole. It is a portal from which ancient evil escapes. Permafrost is a giant freezer that has stored organic remains for hundreds of thousands of years. When the ice melts, the ancient organic matter decomposes, releasing dangerous greenhouse gases. Every spring, the crater releases more carbon than a chemical plant does in a year. And it is not just carbon dioxide. From deep underground escapes methane, a gas 25 times more destructive for the climate. This deadly mix heats the planet. The warmer the climate gets, the faster the permafrost melts. The faster the permafrost melts, the more poisonous gases are released, a vicious cycle that speeds up every year. Right now, as you hear this, thousands of tons of greenhouse gases are flying straight into the atmosphere. And this is only one crater. All across Siberia, similar collapses are appearing. Dozens of other places where the ground falls through, forming new gates to hell. Satellites have recorded many such collapses all across the north. On the Gaiden Peninsula, another giant crater was discovered recently. In Alaska, the coasts are collapsing into the ocean, carrying ancient permafrost with them. The entire Arctic region is covered with cracks from which escapes what should have stayed frozen forever. Scientists have calculated the Arctic permafrost holds twice as much carbon as there is now in the whole Earth's atmosphere. If even half of it enters the air, the planet will heat so much that most land will become unfit for life. The consequences are already visible. In Siberia, temperature records have been set. Verkhoyansk, one of the coldest cities on the planet, recently warmed up to the heat of an African desert. Arctic wildfires release into the air more carbon dioxide than many countries do in a year. In 2020, summer fires in the Arctic broke all records and released 1/3 more gases than the year before. Local people are already suffering. Water from the melting permafrost carries pollution into rivers. The water has become unsafe to drink. The rivers carry poison further to the seas, contaminating everything in their path. With every year, there are more craters, more gases, more pollution, and this process cannot be stopped. Even if humanity were to end all emissions tomorrow, the permafrost would continue to melt for centuries. At the same time, we keep attacking the permafrost from every side, cutting down forests that protect it from the sun, crushing the fragile tundra with heavy machines, drilling into the icy ground, laying hot pipelines that melt it from within, all for oil, gas, and rare metals. We have started a chain reaction. Permafrost melts, poisonous gases are released, the planet heats up, even more permafrost melts. The Arctic has already warmed 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. In the last 30 years, temperatures here have risen by several degrees. Every decade, new heat records are broken. And with the heat come new collapses, new craters, new gates to hell. But there is another side of the story that could be even more dangerous than climate change. When the crater walls collapse, they reveal not only a window into the planet's past, but also release what has been asleep here for millions of years. In the permafrost, scientists find perfectly preserved remains of ancient animals. Bones of mammoths, cave lions, ancient bison. In 2018, they found a foal that died 40,000 years ago. It was so well preserved in its icy grave that it still had hair and soft tissue. In other layers, there are remains of lemmings that lived before humans even existed. The permafrost holds the history of the climate for the last 650,000 years. Each layer of ice is like a page in a book about Earth's past. Scientists can read what the weather was like, what plants grew, what animals lived in ancient times. But along with ancient animals, ancient microbes also come out of the permafrost. Bacteria and viruses that slept for hundreds of thousands of years. And here begins the real horror. Just 1 gram of permafrost contains thousands of kinds of sleeping microorganisms, and every year 4 sextillion microbes, that is a 4 with 21 zeros, are released from the melting ice. No one knows what threat they pose. These microorganisms evolved under completely different conditions when mammoths and saber-toothed tigers walked the earth. They may be resistant to modern medicine. It is possible the crater hides deadly diseases we do not even suspect exist. There are already frightening examples. In 2016, there was an outbreak of anthrax in Siberia, the first in 75 years. More than 2,000 reindeer died, and several people fell ill, including a 12-year-old boy who died. The cause, a thawed carcass of a reindeer that had been infected many decades ago. French scientists managed to revive viruses that were 30,000 years old. They infect only amoebas, but the fact itself proves ancient pathogens can survive in permafrost for an incredibly long time. And what if viruses capable of infecting humans are sleeping in the ice? Perhaps there are pathogens there that humanity believed were defeated. Smallpox, plague, Spanish flu. Especially dangerous are bacteria of the Clostridium family, which are found deep in the permafrost. They cause food poisoning, toxic shock, and botulism. In deep layers of permafrost, which never had contact with modern antibiotics, scientists have found hundreds of kinds of bacteria resistant to medicine. When the permafrost melts, these ancient microbes mix with meltwater and can create new strains against which modern medicine is powerless. Imagine, diseases from the time of mammoths could return to a world where people have no immunity to them. And the threat grows every year. As the Arctic becomes more open for resource extraction, trade, and tourism, more and more people risk coming into contact with ancient viruses, and then they can carry them across the entire world. Industrial poisons have also built up in the permafrost: mercury, arsenic, nickel, and pesticide residues that for decades were carried by the wind and settled in the Arctic. Now all these toxins are being released together with the meltwater. Every year, scientists organize expeditions to the crater. This is very dangerous work. Here they must beware of collapses, bears, swarms of mosquitoes in summer, and those very ancient microorganisms from the melting ice. The land is so harsh that reaching the crater is possible only 4 months a year, when the rivers are frozen enough to drive across them in an all-terrain vehicle. Temperatures in this region range from +37 in summer to -67 in winter Celsius, a difference of more than 100 degrees, but even such extreme cold can no longer stop the thawing. Every summer, the crater grows larger. Researchers in protective suits take samples, following strict safety measures. They study the samples in sterile laboratories, but many scientists warn, we are playing with fire, trying to bring back to life what should remain dead. Satellite images show how the crater has grown over the last 30 years. It expanded especially fast after 2010. Now its depth reaches 70 meters in some places, as if a 20-story skyscraper had sunk completely underground. What is even more frightening? The crater shows us the future. Across the Arctic, similar collapses will appear more and more often. Scientists warn, with rising temperatures and human pressure on nature, We will see more of these mega slumps until all the permafrost is gone. One crater can release into the atmosphere as much carbon as a European country does in a year. And there are more and more craters. Some studies show that the Arctic has already stopped absorbing carbon and has become a source of it. Especially dangerous are explosive craters that form when methane builds up underground. The pressure rises, and at one moment there is an explosion that throws ice and soil hundreds of meters away. Such craters are also appearing more and more across Siberia. Thermokarst lakes have begun to appear in the tundra, places where permafrost has melted and water bodies have formed. These lakes absorb more sunlight than snow, heating the ground even more. Some of them release dangerous methane. The Batagay crater is only the largest of them all, but it shows what happens when humans disturb the natural balance that took thousands of years to form. A few cut-down trees triggered an irreversible destructive process of global scale. And the scariest thing, the process has become self-sustaining. Scientists have discovered that even if all human emissions stopped immediately, permafrost thawing would continue on its own for centuries. We have started an apocalypse machine that cannot be stopped. Every day the gates of hell keep growing. Every second gases are being released into the atmosphere, heating the planet. Ancient microbes awaken from a sleep of hundreds of thousands of years. And across the Arctic region, new cracks in the ground appear. New portals from which a terrifying past escapes. We open the gates of hell with our own hands in search of resources and profit. Now the whole world feels their breath, and with every year it grows hotter, and the danger more real. The question is not whether we can close these gates. It may already be too late. The question is whether we can survive in a world we have changed forever, and whether we can face the ancient threats we ourselves released into freedom.